Good morning, all of you. Welcome to your English session. As soon as you join, children, you turn off your audios and videos and rename yourselves. Otherwise, you'll be in the waiting room. And it's very important session today. Rename yourself as your name, your admission number, class, and section. If you have any queries, children, by this time you all know that you are supposed to write it to me at my ID alpanachavla@lancewellsconvent.net, and do not raise your hands in between the session. So quickly before we start, I am sure you all have brought your vistas, and as I had told you in my previous class, we'll be doing the third level, the first chapter of the vistas, the third level. So I'm sure you have your notebooks with you, a pen and a pencil, and your textbook vistas. So get ready for the class now, and we'll start with our session with our meditation. So please, all of you, sit up in the right posture, sit up straight, don't fiddle with anything, close your eyes, sit in Chin Mudra, and a very short meditation we will have, because our mental and physical well-being is very, very important. I'm sure you all have closed your eyes and you're sitting in Chin Mudra. Taking just a minute, I take a few moments to focus on my breath. And as I breathe in, I imagine gathering all my tense or anxious thoughts. And as I breathe out, I blow all those thoughts away. As I breathe in, I draw down calm and tranquil thoughts from my mind. As I breathe out, I spread these thoughts throughout my body. The body relaxes and my mind becomes free of all anxieties and worries. Rub your hands and cup your eyes, children. I'm sure you all are at peace. I am at peace. See, the meditation has a great impact on us. It immediately calms you down. It immediately, softens your voice. This is the power of meditation. Well, before we begin with our chapter, a quick reminder to all of you, remember that attitude is more important than anything else. For any success to achieve, attitude is often more important than education. So even if you do not have the right education, you'll find it's the attitude which will help you to rise in life. We have so many examples of so many great leaders who have not been really very good, who have not been really very educated, but they have excelled in their life. They have achieved success because of their attitude. So children, remember that your attitude towards learning should always be positive. Towards all situations in life, it should always be positive. So with all the positivity around us, let us begin with our chapter. Before that, I want you to ask a few things to you. You all must have read about the Einstein's great idea, because in class 11th also we had taught you the chapter Adventure, where we were talking about space and time all in one on one platform. So Einstein had proposed this theory of relativity and general relativity, special relativity and general relativity. It states that space and time are real aspects of the same thing. That is, they are not different. They are the same dimensions. And according to this, time moves differently to different people corresponding to their relative speed. Now, if I ask you a question, children, say you are 15 years old when you left Earth in a spacecraft. You're going in a spacecraft, yes? and you're only 15 years old when you left Earth in a spacecraft, traveling at about 99.5% of the speed of light, which is much faster than we can achieve now, of course, and celebrated only 5 birthdays during your space voyage. Long time. So when you get back home at the age of 20, after 5 years when you come back, you find that all your classmates were almost 65 years old, they're retired, and they're enjoying their grandchildren. How did this happen? And you are still there because time passed more slowly for you. You will have experienced only 5 years of your life, while your classmates will have experienced a full 50 years. Yes, this is what we're calling about the special relativity, right? We are going to connect this to our chapter now. And the chapter is The Third Level by Jack Finney, a science fiction writer. But before I come to Jack Finney, I want you to see the setting, the place where about which the story has been written, the place where in New York, which is a Grand Central Station. Just take a look here and I'll show you more pictures in real of the Grand Central Station today. Coming to the author now. The author has, his name is Jack Finney. He's popularly known as Jack Finney. He was born on 2nd October 1911 in US, and he died in 14th November 1995. And he lived in California, actually. And he has been awarded the World Fantasy Award, a life achievement award, children. And in his movies, his books have been converted to movies, Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Invasion. Now you'll find here the time again is something which you'll find is again also Time and Again is a very famous book of his, and The Body Snatchers. This is how he rose to great popularity. You'll find that Jack Finney is very interesting that he stayed in US, and you'll find that the author, he used to live in New York, and just a minute, children. Yes, okay, yeah. After living in New York City for a long time, he used to work there as in an advertising agency, and then he moved to California in 1950. So his father died when he was just 3 years old, and he was renamed after his father as Walter Braden Finney in honor of his father. But he still retained the name, the nickname Jack remained with him throughout his life, and he attended Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. His best known works are science fiction and thrillers. He's now famous for his book Time Machine also, which has been, one of the, his book Time Machine. Time Machine is written by H.G. Wells, which I'll come to you next year. This is the one. Many of you must have seen this movie also. This is actually, this floating, yeah. Is time travel, I want to ask you all, is time travel science fiction or a fantasy? This is something which you have to decide. If you have read H.G. Wells' Time Machine, I know it was a great thriller, and I remember we had shown this in the auditorium, those days when we had an auditorium, the luxury of having an auditorium, and we were watching movies there in the auditorium, and the Time Machine was shown to you. Maybe you were in very junior classes then. But yes, it's a wonderful science fiction, and if you haven't watched it, please go home and go and watch this movie today. It's really a wonderful one and a very rare experience you will have. And then you decide whether it is a science fiction or it is a fantasy. Because today, children, all that is science fiction is all coming true today. It's coming really true to us on our tables. We can see our video conferencing sitting far away, and we are able to talk to people. We are able to see. So all that which was a science fiction once upon a time is now becoming true. Okay, so let's see what our lesson is all about. See, this third level is all about a character here, Charlie, Louisa and Sam, a psychiatrist. The story is set in New York, Grand Central Station of the 1940s, which was there, and Gettysburg, Illinois, 1890s. The theme is people often yearn for a simpler, less stressful time, and they want to escape to the past when life was much, much cooler, you can call it, as you call it, chill, as you call it, as life is cool. Yes. So they want to escape there. And we also have here the conflict which you'll find. I'm just giving you an overview of the lesson first. The conflict you find here is between man versus his own self. Charlie is looking to escape his reality. Why? All that we'll discuss. And Charlie discovers a way to travel back to time. That is a third level of the Grand Central Station. What resolution does he make here? Charlie can't find the third level, but he knows it exists because Sam writes him a letter that it does. Now this I'm going to resolve for you, and you are going to make a conclusion as to what actually happened. Did he travel to the third level, and what is the third level, right? Right now, remember that there are three characters here, Charlie, Louisa, and Sam, the psychiatrist, and our setting is the New York Grand Central Station of the 1940s. Okay. Something wrong there. Yes. Now, I'll give you an overview of this story here first. Narrator here, interweaves fantasy with reality. Charlie, the main character, he loses his way and he finds himself in the third level of the Grand Central Station of New York. There's actually no third level, children, but Charlie believes in its existence, operating in a time frame of 1890. That is, he thinks that there is a third level and he has transported himself to the 1890s. From this level, he wants to travel to Gettysburg, Illinois with his wife, Louisa. Gettysburg is a place in America, and that is a place where people have in 1890s, they used to have a very laid back attitude, very relaxed, very, very relaxed and calm. Life was not, as fast as it is today for all of us. So for Charlie, it is a part of reality, while his psychiatrist friend calls it a waking dream wish fulfillment. Now, children, you will not find the story as in the book here, because the story has been written from the middle. He starts telling the story to us from the middle, about his experience from the middle. This is how he has begun his story. That is the reason I gave you an overview here about the story. So it begins with Charlie having lost his way, right? Where? At the Grand Central Station of New York. And he goes to the psychiatrist and talks to him about his having seen the Grand Central Station. And what does the psychiatrist call him? Tells him that it's a waking dream wish fulfillment. Now, what is this waking dream wish fulfillment? That is something which you really desire to have, right? So it's like your eyes are open and you are dreaming, you're watching, it's not a reality, but yet you believe it's a reality. So let's come to the Grand Central Station. The Grand Central Station actually in New York, it still exists, is a heritage site. It is, a huge landmark site spread over 49 acres of land. And there are many platforms, but in those days, there were only 2 platforms or 2 levels, right? Now, on the first level, the trains moved to the 20th century trains moved, and from the second level, all the suburban trains left. Now, what are the suburban trains? That is the trains which go to the interior parts of the country. Now, all people cannot live in the cities. So, because life is very costly there, right? So, they go and live in the suburban areas. So, from the second level, all the trains used to move towards the suburban, and from the first level, they would move to the 20th century train. That means to the cities, right? Coming next now. So children, this was in reality. This happened in reality. And this is a reality of that time. But what happens actually? Let's see. See the Grand Central Station, you can see here a large number of people here. As we have, you can call it our metro station at Rajiv Chowk, which has got so many levels, and different trains move from different levels. One can easily get confused over there. You have to ask people, or you have to take a guidebook and refer to the guidebook as to which metro train goes to where, and which platform I have to go. So likewise, this Grand Central Station is very much like that, where a lot of trains move to different parts of the city and the country. In reality, Grand Central Station has 2 levels, but Charlie, a 31-year-old narrator of the story, thinks that there are 3 levels. Now, what makes him think? We'll come to that. The 3rd level is actually the figment of his own imagination. He imagines this. In fact, there is no 3rd level, right? He does not only believe in the existence of this imaginary 3rd level, but he claims to have been there. That is the reason he begins in the story. The story now begins with he vouching and saying that the president of the New York Central and the New York and the people of the station, they can vouch, they can swear that there are only 2. But Charlie says, no, I have seen 3, right? I have seen 3. Now, there's nobody is there to believe him, children, but he insists that he has seen 3, right? So this is the Grand Central Station. This is one picture which we have to show you. This is a real Grand Central Station. Okay, so what does he do? He gets confused there, and what does he do? He goes to his psychiatrist friend, Sam. Why does he go to a psychiatrist, children? Because children today need, there is a lot of problem, children, because there are so many worries and, tensions and anxieties all around us, when people are really confused and they get into depression and they get into so many other, mental issues they have. So that is the reason the psychiatrists are cropping up in the city everywhere, because we need sometimes some emotional support. But I don't feel that we need psychiatrists. We need to go to a psychiatrist. Why? Because we ourselves can work on, ourselves, children. If you do good yoga exercises, if you are fit, if you do good reading, and you are very positive, you do meditation above all, you'll find you don't need to go to anybody, and you'll be mentally and emotionally fit. That is because you'll be able to handle your stress very well. So Charlie was stressed out because he was not able to find the 3rd level, and nobody is ready to believe him, right? He happened to, fall into the 3rd level once, but then next time when he goes, he doesn't find it. So he goes to his psychiatrist friend, whose name is Sam Weiner, right? And he consults his psychiatrist friend to ensure that he's mentally fit. He says his wife also gets very upset. She gets mad at him, and she says, no, I will take you to a psychiatrist to find out if you are really emotionally sane. So according to Sam, he says, this is something which is your waking dream wish fulfillment. And waking dream means your eyes are open. You can see, because you want things to happen according to your wish. You want to see something which is not there now. So it becomes a waking dream wish fulfillment. And he wants to escape to some temporary refuge from reality. This is what Sam says. And, Charlie doesn't like this at all. Doesn't like this, that he's calling him as a person who wants to take a temporary refuge from reality. He says, I'm not an escapist. Escapist is a very negative word, right? He didn't want to take that thing. So, in fact, you'll find the world today, the modern world, is full of insecurity, fear, worry, and war, and so many other tensions. We have our deadlines to meet. We have so many other worries, all the time. So, according to him, his hobby, according to Weiner, that is Sam Weiner, Charlie also had a stamp. He was a stamp collector. He was a filator, right? His hobby, like stamp, which people don't practice nowadays, children. His hobby, like stamp collection, is a manifestation of this escape from reality. This is what Sam tells him. right? Sam tells him that you have a waking dream, wish fulfillment, all this, and you are escaping into a different world. And because you want, and that is the reason your hobby which you have of collecting stamps is also a manifestation of this escape. Now, how can stamp collecting be called as an escapist, as a hobby to escape from the reality? Let's see. Children, in the nowadays nobody practices, as I told you, collecting stamps and coins and all that. But there were times when we used to collect stamps, and it was a great hobby. We could get to know so much of general knowledge from there about the country's culture, about the places, and the different stamps which would come out. There's entirely one paragraph which Jack Finney has talked about on this stamp collecting, which we'll come to in our later slides. But the narrator, Charlie, doesn't disagree with Sam Wiener, and he says that my grandfather was also a stamp collector, and President Roosevelt was also a stamp collector, and they were not escapists. They were not escaping from any kind of a fear or worry of this modern world. So I'm also not a part of this. So there's a disagreement between Sam and Charlie, right? Now, why did I say that? Why did he say it's a temporary refuge from reality? So children, sometimes it does happen. I wouldn't label this as a temporary refuge from reality. This is what Sam Wiener says, right? So Sam Wiener says that your philately hobby is a temporary refuge. So people do collect, stamp book collection, stamp collection, coin collection was a great hobby which people have really gone out of. Nowadays we are more into mobile phones and all that, and we don't collect stamps. We don't even know which stamp has come. Moreover, the post offices are places which have become almost obsolete, right? So now coming to this now. So now he begins with his story. This was the introduction which he has given about the problem which he has come across. So how does this whole thing begin now? It began with Charlie one day was in a hurry to reach his house. He wanted to go, and he wanted to go home to meet his wife Lauzia. So he decided to go by the subway train because it was faster than the bus. He was not trying to escape from anything, as Sam Wiener told him. He was not escaping. He just wanted to reach home early to meet his wife Lauzia. No particular reason, just like that. So he went down the steps to the first level, where one takes trains like the 20th century trains. And then he walked down the stairs to the second level. He had come to the Grand Central stations hundreds of times, children, hundreds of times. But he realized now, this time, that there were doorways and stairs and corridors. He wonders, that this whole Grand Station is like a tree. Why do I call it as a tree? Because it has got so many different routes, tertiary routes and secondary routes and different branches which branch out to so many different places. So he compares the Grand Central Station to a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like routes. If you go to the Rajiv Chowk or any other main central metro station, you will find the different outlets to different ways. And if you take a different route out, you will move to a different part of CP. And then you'll have to come back and again go to the different route. So there are so many different outlets, and you have to be very, very clear as to where you want to go and how to go about it. So likewise, he found that there were new corridors and staircases like the routes. He also imagined that there was a long tunnel that led to Times Square and the Central Park. This is all in his imagination. Charlie got into an arched doorway. What's an arched doorway? Which has a circular top, heading for the subway, and he found himself alone over there. See, this is in reality, he's alone inside, inside in his heart, in his emotions, he's alone. So even now, when he goes, when he's walking on the platform there, he finds himself a place where he finds himself alone, and he is there only with his own thoughts, children, his own thoughts. Nobody else is there with him. And then he hears when he's in his, you won't call it as a subconscious mind. It's something which he sees with his own eyes. And then he heard some people talking. He reached at the third level and Grand Central Station. This is according to him. See, that's why I just drew a tree here and wanted to show you it's like growing like a tree. And it leads out to different places here. And you find there are different corridors here, different staircases leading to different parts, one leading to a central park, and so on and on. This is, children, actually I wanted to show you the picture here. This picture was taken in 1919, and it is an outside view of the terminal from Vanderbilt Avenue and 42nd Street. This is where Charlie entered the station in the story, right? You can see there are only 2 levels there. So this is the picture, the real picture. Okay. The 20th Century Limited was an express passenger train that ran between Grand Central Terminal and La Salle Street Station in Chicago. It was operated by the New York Central Railroad from 1902 until 1967. So all this isn't real, but there is another part of the story which is moving in space. I just got a message that somebody wants to know more about the escape route. Okay, children, I'll get back to that just now. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just show these pictures and I'll get back and revise the escape route. This is the real Grand Central Station of those days, right? And this is a view of the balcony in the Grand Central Station taken between 1913 and 1930. But today there's an Apple store which is located here. And this is a clock which still exists there at the Grand Central Terminal booth. It still ticks off the time 100 years after it was built, and the world's largest terminal covers 49 acres, as I told you, with 33 miles of track, and over 700,000 people pass through the terminal every day, and it operates over 700 trains per day. So it was a huge, huge platform, right? Anybody can get lost there. Next. So what did he do? Somebody asked me about the escape route. I just got a message here. So I think I cannot miss that out now, but I'll definitely just tell you about before I come to this slide here. Escape route is that he wants to move. He has come to the second level, but he is imagining himself as he has come to a different place, right? And he says that is the third level. Up till now, he had always been going to the 2 levels, but when he has gone to the second level, he enters into a tunnel, and there he finds there's a third level. So what is that third level now? Let's see this. See, when he reaches the third level, this is all in his mind, children. Keep this clear. Keep this very clear. This is all in his mind. The third level is quite an old station that is totally different from the 2 levels because, as I told you in the beginning, he has transported himself to the 1890s, right? 1890s and third level. And he imagines the third level of 1890s. There is no third level, but he imagines he's on third level, and the situation in the third level is of 1890s. So a scene of 1890s is shown on the third level in his mind. I think this will be clear now. Yes. So what kind of things did he see there? He saw the room was smaller and the ticket windows were fewer there because less number of people in those days, you know. The information booth was wooden and very old looking. The lights were very dim. Flickering open flame gas lights were there, and there were brass spittoons, which reminded him of the architecture of the 19th century. People were dressed in very strange outfits. I'll show you some of the outfits now. A man wore a derby hat and had a big black mustache, the handlebar mustaches. And everyone in the station was dressed like people in the last decade of the 19th century. Men had beard and sideburns. You remember the sideburns? Which we ask you to cut them, clip them, you have those. So he saw strange. You can see the dresses of the people, right? And how the ladies are dressed up, how the men have those sideburns, and this is a derby hat. I'll show you a real picture then. Yes. See, these all things he noticed at the platform. Men with handlebar mustache, men with sideburns, people using a pocket watch in those days, right? There were gas lights, open gas lights. There were no lights like we use today. There were these brass spittoons, men wearing derby hats, and women were dressed in these were called as mutton sleeves, you know, very strange, isn't it? These were called as mutton sleeves, dresses, skirts, and all that they wore. and the locomotive was of this kind, right? Next. This is the funnel shaped stack which he saw, and it was named as Currier and Ives locomotive of the 20th century limited. This was named as such. Now, before I come to this slide, children, there's a small gap you will find here, and you'll have to move with me. When he sees all these things at the, I'll come back to this particular part now. When he sees this third level, and he reaches there and he finds all these things, he gets a little confused, as to what is happening, right? He finds people dressed up in very strange kinds of dresses there, and he gets completely lost, right? He gets lost at the Grand Central Station, and this is his transition point, remember. And he digresses, his thoughts run hayway, and then he comes back to the story. What is the story now? For just a moment, he thought, where am I? He wonders, where am I? So to make sure, what he does is that he comes to this part. He looks around. He looks around and he finds that there is a newspaper boy with a stack of papers at his feet. And this boy was having the newspapers in his hand, which the newspaper was titled as The World, and it was, and the newspaper of The World has not been published for several years, right? So he saw this newspaper, and the lead story had about, or it was about the President Cleveland. Yes, and this was on the first page, President Cleveland's of 1890s, remember. So he rushed to the library and found out what it is all about. He got to know that this World newspaper has not been published or has not been printed since June 11, 1894. This was of June 11, 1894. And since then, the newspaper has not been printed because he is now moved much, much ahead. He is transported mentally to 1894. So he happens to see this newspaper of 1894. See, sometimes the things are so very strongly there in our mind that we visualize only those things which we want to see. So this is what he sees, right? So what does he do now? Charlie now, as such, is really tired, and he wants to have a very relaxed life because he's in tension. He's surrounded with worries and fears, just like anybody of today's times. So he also wanted to travel. So what did he plan then? According to him, he wonders, he had been told by his grandfather that there's a place called as Gettysburg, and it's a place, which is very beautiful, where there are old frame houses, there are huge lawns, tremendous trees, and in 1894, the summer evenings were twice as long, and people sat there on their lawns, men smoking cigars and talking quietly, women relaxing in the gardens and all that, So they had a very relaxed life, which we are missing out today of enjoying the nature. So this is a place where he wanted to go. So what does he do? What does he do? Let's see. These are the kind of houses which people had. Now, we cannot have a luxury to have these kind of houses in the cities, right? So what does he do? He exchanged $300 for old style bills amounting to some 200 only. You know how the money has, the value of money is every day going down. So these were the old currency notes. They were larger in size as we have today. What does he do is that he takes $300 exchange $300 old style money, and he gets only 200 in return. Now, because the money has become devalued, and what does he do? He goes to the ticket collector and asks him to give him, 2 tickets to Gettysburg, Illinois. But there's a small, gap here. You'll find here another. What is that gap? Behind the lines, before he has actually come to buy the tickets, he first goes to the ticket collector, shows him his present day money, which he has to buy the ticket. And there the ticket collector, he looks at him very strangely. He gives him a glare as if he's trying to tell him that, are you trying to fool me? Right? And immediately, Charlie runs away from there, right? But he doesn't run away from there completely, because the thought of going to Gettysburg is so very strong that he goes the next day, exchanges $300 dollars for old style bills, because nowadays even you can go, if you want to collect, if you are a coin collector, you can go to Chandni Chowk and you can get old coins also, but you have to pay the present amount of money in larger amount and get a smaller amount of the old times. So likewise he got only 200, but he was happy with that. Even though he lost money here, he was happy. Why he was happy, children, even though he got less amount? Because $300 bought him only 200 old bills, but he didn't care. Why? Because he knew that in Galesburg, Illinois, one can live a life with very less amount of money. So he thought 200 for both of us, my husband, my wife and me, is enough, right? So he's happy there. And then, what he does is that he thinks and he goes and searches for the third level. But every time he goes there is no third level, because the third level did not exist, right? It does not exist. He goes there every time he goes there, both Lauzia and they both keep searching, but they don't get anything. Lauzia gets pretty worried, and so she tells him that now you stop looking for any third level. There is no such third level, and you go back to your stamp collection hobby. So both of them stop looking and they start collecting the stamps once again. So, what happens is that every weekend they are into this hobby, they keep looking for it. So he says, one day while he is looking into his, stamps, what happens is that suddenly Charlie finds that his friend Sam is missing. He gets to know that his friend Sam Wiener, remember the psychiatrist, is missing, right? So how does this happen? So one night when he was looking into his stamps, he comes across something. But before that, children, I need to tell you what is a first day cover. Those who are into stamp collecting, they will know what is the first day cover. It is an envelope with a stamp on it. Yes, you can find this. This is a stamp there. This is a stamp here. And, stamp collectors mail this envelope to themselves on the first day of its sale to mark the date. What happens is, whenever a new stamp comes in the market, people who are filators, what they do is that they take an envelope, put an empty plain sheet inside it, put the new stamp on the envelope, and they write their own address. Right, so that the address will have the envelope will have the stamp will be marked on it. When it goes to the post office, it will be marked like this. Yes, so this becomes an authentic piece that the stamp was issued on this particular date. So these are called as the first day covers. So Charlie in his collection, finds the first day cover in his grandfather's collection. So what happens? There's one more line, children, which children find it a little difficult to understand. If you turn to your page number 2, blocks of 4 of practically every US issue. What does it mean? You'll find here, the lines are not connected directly because he keeps shifting from one thought to another thought, right? So this line means that on page number 2, I especially searched for this particular picture for all of you to make you understand what it means. Blocks of 4 of practically every US issue. US issue refers to every stamp which was issued by US. Blocks of 4 stamps. Any stamp which is of a smaller denomination, 4 stamps were put together by these filators, and when the stamp from the post office comes, it would come on the entire 4 stamps, and that becomes a record for them. So this is how they wanted the stamp from the post office to make it very authentic, right? So this is called as this is what it means. Blocks of 4 of practically every US issue they collected, So for a stamp collector, this is a collector's delight, children, right? So this is how they collect the stamps. See, anybody who is into a hobby, they go so deep into it, right? Next. So Charlie, in his father's stamp collection, he finds there this first cover where he receives a letter inside. It's not empty, remember that. It's not just a plain letter. It's a letter written to Charlie. By whom? By Sam. So this is what was written. And see, the address is Galesburg, Illinois, July 1894. And it was dated July 1894. It was a letter from Sam, who claimed that he had found the third level in Galesburg. He was astonished. Charlie was astonished to find that Sam had bought, to confirm this, he goes to a coin collector where Sam had gone. He gets to know that Sam had gone to an old store, and he had exchanged $800 worth of old style currency so that he can start his new life in Galesburg, Illinois. And what business? Grain business, right? That means Sam has got transported. I will not use the word transported now. That Sam has gone to Galesburg, Illinois, because the letter has come from Galesburg, Illinois, right? This is what Charlie believes again, children. This is what he is seeing. It's not happening. And see the kind of evidences which he gives every time to convince himself that there is a third level. So what does he do now? He finds that instead of the plain paper inside the envelope, there is a letter there. This is something which he sees. And he believes now very strongly that actually Sam himself has got transported. Where? To Galesburg, Illinois. And what is he doing there? He's doing there the business of grain. Why not the business of psychiatrist? Of a psychiatrist? Why? Because in those days, nobody needed a psychiatrist. No world wars had taken place. With the World War First, yet 20 years ahead, and World War II with 40 years ahead. Nobody was living in a tense life. Nobody was anxious. Everybody was living a peaceful life, right? So we didn't need a psychiatrist. So he could live and do his business of grain, right? So he has an evidence of this also now, right? So now he's convinced that there is a third level. There is a third level. Are you getting me, children? Yes, it's a little complicated now that you have heard from me, and I'll be giving you the study material also, the complete, the picture of all this. So, but you need to read yourself, children, to understand this. The story does not begin from from how it began. He begins from the middle. The story begins, the first page is from the middle part. Because you remember when we used to ask you to do the story writing, sometimes we give you a beginning, sometimes a middle, and sometimes an end. Likewise, this is how he begins his story from the middle, right? And then he goes back to how it all began, and then he comes to the end. So now Charlie is very much convinced that Sam has reached Galesburg. There is a place, Galesburg, Illinois. He's been transported to 1894. To a place which is very calm, very peaceful, where people can have a relaxed life. He's very sure of this. But there is an irony here. What is the irony here? The irony in the third level is that, first of all, irony is what you must know is the difference between appearance and reality. Charlie is unhappy with the modern world. He's stressed, and he imagines that there is a third level at the Grand Central Station. Now he chooses the Grand Central Station for the only reason because it's a huge thing, and we are also lost in this huge world. So he's lost at the Grand Central Station. So he chooses this station. But his psychiatrist friend Sam tells him that it just shows his unhappiness with his present life. He tells him the truth, that there is no such station. You are just unhappy, so you are seeing this. So you are escaping. You are taking a refuge there, a shelter there, right? However, at the end of the story, when Sam himself disappears and Charlie finds a letter written by Sam, wherein the letter claims that he has reached Galesburg, this is something which is an irony, because the man who did not believe that he had gone, Charlie had said that there's a third level and there is a place called as Galesburg, he himself has transported there. This is the irony between appearance and reality. So the Sam who initially, this is what I've written here, the Sam who initially dismisses Charlie's claims of the third level and said that it is a waking dream, wish fulfillment, himself goes there. and he becomes the evidence of the existence of the third level, right? So this is, we are talking about space and time existing simultaneously, right? I hope it is clear. It will be only clear if you read the story yourself, right? So in parts, put the things together, and then you'll be able to understand the story. Now, I'll just quickly brief you up here. Who is Charlie? Charlie is a 31-year-old man. His wife's name is Lausia. He wants to escape from the streets of the modern world. His hobby is stamp collecting. He imagines third level. It's very simple, children, because the story is written in different, through his transition and at different levels. Hence, it becomes complicated. But otherwise, the story is as simple as his chart. He imagines a third level at Grand Central Station. His friend, psychiatrist, he got a friend who's named as Sam Wiener, who's a psychiatrist, and he imagines to stay back. He imagines that he wants to go back to 1894 because life there is very relaxed. And why does he want to go there? Because he wants peace and serenity. This is what is a gist of Charlie. Well, so what is the theme? The theme is of escapism, not as a psychological refuge from grim realities of the world, but understand, children, these are two things. As I told you in the beginning, that this is something which is not sitting in a time machine and getting transported. It is something which he himself has gone through. It's a self-hypnosis, right? Where he gets transported to a different place in US, right? And that place is Galesburg, Illinois. So it's a self-hypnosis, right? It's not a psychological refuge, but a desire to stay with the past or keep the past alive in the complexities of the present. Yes, he doesn't want to escape from the reality. He just wants to keep the past because his grandfather used to tell him the stories of Galesburg. So he wants that is still alive in him. And even though he is in the present complex life, he's keeping his past alive. This is what we are talking about, right? In the story. Next. So what did we learn from this? We have inferred that people find it hard to make peace with unpleasant things. We have to learn to make peace, children. We have to learn to make peace with the conditions around us. And that can only be possible if we do some meditation. There are so many art of living camps going on around you. Not now. Now it's all online. You can always join them, right? And you'll find that there is so much of, even when there is so much of chaos around you, you will find peace within you, right? So this is what we need to infer from this lesson, right? Common man's craving for peace and security. You'll find we all are looking for peace and security. Today, see, we are inside our homes. We have the luxury to be inside our homes. Hence, we can enjoy this. But think about those migrant workers, how they are so very, I just really feel so very pathetic for them, and we can't do anything for them. So helpless we are. So common man's craving for peace and security. This is what we infer. And the world in 1894 is more peaceful, not seeing the repercussions of war. And because we have seen, the China's war with India now is an impending thing, how we've started fearing, what is going to happen next. We don't need to fear, children. We need to be calm, right? The insecurities that come with war, terror, and disease had gotten the better of common folks like Charlie, who want a transient relief. It's just a transient relief from the harsh realities of life. So the solution to all this is the craving for peace and security, and to make peace with unpleasant things. Things which you cannot change, you have to learn to live with them. And there's something good for you also. Remember, children, that if you watch this movie, if you have seen Baar Baar Dekho, and another one is, there's one more movie, Action Replay. Watch these two movies, you'll understand this chapter really very well, okay? So just quick look at the question here. Do you see an intersection of time and space in the story? Yes, the story clearly shows an intersection of time and space. Firstly, remember these points are very, very important, children, here. The first two levels of Grand Central Station were located in the present time, while the third level existed in 1890s, right? Secondly, Charlie and his wife, Lauzia, live in the present time, and Charlie goes to get the old currency to buy tickets to Gettysburg. So this is another intersection here. So the old architecture of the platform, the archaic manner of dressing up when he has shifted to the past, the world newspaper, and finally the letter that was mailed to Charlie's grandfather. So this shows there is an intersection of time and space in the story. We have some more questions here. If you can just take a quick click of this, and I'll be putting this in the study material also. These are very, very simple questions I've taken up, comprehension type questions. And once you have read the story, try to answer these questions yourself, right? Don't look for any answers anywhere, children. Then if you are able to answer, you'll find this is done. Chapter is done. Well, children, that's all for today. And I hope you the lesson is clear to you. And once I'll upload the study material to you, it will be all the more crystal clear to all of you. Thank you so much. We'll meet tomorrow again with the writing skills. And if you have any doubts regarding this lesson, please mail it to me, children, today. I will answer all your queries. Then tomorrow I can take up those queries also. Thank you so much, children, for being so patient.